The grand finalists, will start with them this morning. Aaron Vandenberg hasn't been offered that new contract at Melbourne, and the D's on paper at least remain in the hunt for Adam Cerra, but we'll come back to that. The Bulldogs are hunting a ruckman. They've been shopping for quite a while now, but it won't be either of GWS pair Kieran Briggs, who the Giants have contracted and are keen to keep, or Matt Flynn, who is a long way down the path of signing a new one. Jake Riccardi will stay at GWS as well, and Jeremy Finlayson is more chance to do the same with 2 years to go on his deal, unless Port back up that preliminary interest with something tangible, but they haven't at this stage.
Okay, so just again, my first real eyes on this for the year. Is Peter Ladhams not just a lay-down misère for the Bulldogs?
Well, he is. He's got 1 year remaining on a 3-year deal at Port Adelaide. He had a pretty blunt exit meeting that took place about 48 hours after that hugely disappointing preliminary final loss to the Bulldogs. Now, Ladham wants to play ruck and forward rather than forward and ruck, and there was a feeling from him that he was up against it every week and always on the verge of being dropped, and that perhaps the club had never quite got over last year's COVID protocol breach either that involved him and Dan Houston, with Ladhams actually copping the 3-match ban. But generally speaking, he was happy there. He grew up a Port supporter, 2 minutes from the ground. It's a back-ended deal as well, so he's helped the club out, and he's now been asked to look around as he approaches his payday in the last year of his contract. So that hasn't sat too well, but he's now got his head around moving on, even if the bridges aren't burnt on staying put, should that transpire. I'm just not sure how the Dogs get the deal done, given they've got pick 17 and pick 72. They had to part with a lot of picks last year to match Jamari Ugle-Hagan, and now they've got the son of Luke Darcy, Sam Darcy, coming in as well, who they'll probably get an early bid for as well. So, look, but generally clubs find a way. If a player really wants to get there, if Peter Ladhams says, I absolutely want to get to the Bulldogs, generally speaking, clubs find a way.
Bevo can go hot and cold on players. At the moment, he appears to be a little bit a little bit cold on Tim English. Do you think he's had his papers marked there at the Bulldogs, or is it? He's only 24 years of age, Tim English.
I don't know. He took a couple of grabs. I heard Kingy yesterday saying that he thinks he's as good as he gets as a ruckman, and he might be right, but he did a couple of things in that grand final where I went, wow. A couple of his big contested marks, and maybe he's not a ruckman. Maybe he's just not a ruckman and can be developed as a forward, but a couple of those marks he took, I don't think you give up on. Now, I saw the 2 marks, and I always say this, I see a lot of Max Gawn in Tim English. Now, I know Max is gone.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be giving up on Tim English.
What Max had, and maybe nobody could see, was what he had inside his rib cage at that time. Now, I'm not saying that Tim English can't develop. Yeah. I'm not saying he can't develop that.
I don't know how competitive Tim
is. It seems to me right now that that's the big question mark that they have against his name.
Well, he's contracted for next year. He's clearly not going anywhere next year. He has delayed any talk on an extension until well into next year. That's just his strategy from here. The big ones to play out perhaps today, Jordan Clark, Adam Cerra could make their intentions clear. Clark weighing up that 4-year offer from Fremantle. He has met with the Dockers last week. It's common knowledge he didn't see eye to eye with the former Cats defensive coach, Matty Scarlett. Clark believes he plays his best footy as a defender. He wasn't allowed to play there. Now, Scarlett's gone, obviously, but the opinion hasn't changed in that the Cats would have liked, ideally, Jordan Clark to develop a harder edge, and he didn't quite fit in with their philosophies down there. So they did hold him to his contract last year when rivals sniffed around. Will the same happen again? He's got another year to go on that contract, and he was due to sit down 4 meetings with the Cats early this week. Geelong, for their part, they're going to lose Nathan Kruger to Collingwood. You'd think they'd want to safeguard their future here. Jared Brander might come in from West Coast. Daniel Talia might be an option if Lockie Henderson retires, but there's no announcement on that as yet, Tim.
Have you heard anything about Daniel Talia?
No. Richmond obviously had touched base with him and spoken to him. They went down a different path with Robbie Tarrant, so he's in limbo at the moment, Talia.
His manager, Liam Pickering, is one of the more helpful managers out there in the business. What's he said to you when you've called him?
No, not a lot at the moment. No update, I think, is probably the best.
What's going on with Pickers? Has he just shut up shop, has he?
Well, I'm not sure he's got much to say, to be honest. And there is the prospect that Daniel Taylor just stays in Adelaide, where he's well and truly got life lined up after football. He's got his family there.
What?
It's not a fait accompli. But not play AFL footy, yeah. Not a fait accompli. Continues.
So just on one point, do you find it interesting that Scarlett didn't want Clark in his back 6 and overruled potentially the coach?
No, I think they give them pretty much their heads on that.
They give them the licence to play the players they want.
Matthew Scarlett would have some non-negotiables if you want to play in his back group.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But the head coach is Chris Scott. Mm-hmm. So you would think if Chris Scott had wanted Jordan Clark in the back 6, then he would have said, look, I don't care what you think about this. You've got to make this guy into a player because we actually need what he's got.
I'm sure they said you're not giving up on him, but I don't reckon in the end, if Matthew Scarlett says he doesn't fit in right now, I'm not giving up on the boy, but right now he's not at the level we need him, then I reckon that would have been it.
I think if the Freo offer is good enough, he's definitely gone. Because I don't think Steve Hocking coming in, his opinion is that much different either from Matty Scarlett. So I think they're largely in line there with their opinion on Jordan Clark Geelong. Adam Cerra, we expect to nominate Carlton, given they provide him, I guess, the easiest, less stressful path out of Fremantle. And importantly, it leaves the Dockers with compensation that most departing players want their clubs to receive. The Blues and West Coast should make light work of a trade for Sam Petrevski-Seton. Brander also has links to Geelong, we mentioned. Could he be used here in this deal, maybe to Carlton? Hewitt's going to arrive on a 4-year deal at the Blues, whose delisted big man Levi Caswell has drawn some interest from the Brisbane Lions. Now, the Lions are after that big man, a forward ruck, if you like, given Eric Hipwood's going to be sidelined. They need to ease the reliance on Joe Danaher, lighten the load for Oscar McInerney. They've got 3 they're considering with their money tied up there. They are Casbolt, Mason Cox and Darcy Fort. Now, the Geelong ruckman is the only one of those 3 with an existing contract for next year. So Brisbane are in the shop window for a big man. It'll be one of those 3. In the coach's box, James Kelly is Steve Hocking's first appointment. Of course, he joins Chris Scott for next year. The Dogs are also they've got Ash Hansen there, who's drawn interest from Geelong as well. The Dogs have already lost Stephen King to the Gold Coast as a senior assistant. So that coaching turnover has been huge and is about to get bigger, given the Cats have got more appointments to make and Carlton need to surround Michael Voss as well.
Have you got a theory as to why there's so much movement in the assistant coaching area this off-season? And it's only just started too.
I think there's a shelf life for assistant coaches. Now, whether or not this is a perfect storm where there's lots of been around for 5, 6 years and, there's got to be a rotation. You know what I think? I think the success, again, and we always look at the Premier, right? So it's a copycat industry and clubs will look at Melbourne and go, what'd they do? Oh, they introduced Adam Uzo and they introduced Mark Williams and to go with Greg Stafford as a group. And it worked well for them, freshened up, new eyes. The Mark Williams role was unique. So maybe, clubs are going, okay, let's freshen up our own look here.
You've been dropping bombs this morning. I've been following along your Twitter account. Just the key, just give us a little tease on the key names that you've been all over this morning.
Oh, well, the big names today remain the big names that they've been since we started talking about trades. That's Adam Cerra and that's Jordan Clark. Still, Carlton don't know. They haven't been told by Adam Cerra that they are his club of choice. So they're working with West Coast at the moment on a trade for Sam Petrevski-Seton that has a few ramifications as well. And in regards to Jordan Clark, it's probably as simple as this, Kane. If they get a deal that they like from Fremantle, Jordan Clark's gone. If they don't, they'll hold him to that contract. It's much the same with Darcy Fort as well, with interest from the Brisbane Lions for their contracted ruckman there at the Cats. And then the latest, just before I joined you, is that confirmation that Jarrod Cameron, the exciting West Coast goal sneaker, has told West Coast that he's out. He's played his last game for the club. He's contracted for next year, but he has told Eagles officials he doesn't want to play for them next year. So it's just unclear at this point whether he is keen to continue elsewhere. And boy, I've already had numerous supporter groups tweet in saying we've got to go for this guy, or in fact he wants to step away from the game. So we'll try and flesh that out before midday as well.